good. Imagine being ready to die. Now imagine being ready to die instantly by the government. It's not a good time. Can you click this? Unfortunately for Robert Streetland, that was his case. He was ready to die. And on January the 7th, 1988, at 3:19 a.m., he was injected with lethal drugs, and he was put on capital punishment. 7 minutes later, he was pronounced dead. In the governor's office, they got a call from the United States Supreme Court, and they were asked to reconsider. But unfortunately for Streetland, it was too late. Should the death penalty be administered to those deemed guilty for murder in the court of law? In this speech, we'll discuss the injustices of capital punishment, the economical and the racial injustices. And we'll also talk about the immorality of capital punishment, the religious and the human compassion part when it comes to killing someone else. And we will talk about the deterrence of capital punishment to a crime. Is capital punishment really a deterrence to crime for convicted murderers?
First, I'm going to talk about the injustice of capital punishment. Capital punishment is a discriminatory means of punishment. It's a poor man's justice. Without capital, you get the punishment. In other words, if you don't have money to hire a first-grade lawyer, then you're pretty much getting sentenced to death. Professor Davis Baldus of University of Iowa did a study of about 2,500 murders. Baldus concluded that whether the killer was white or black, the primary determinant of life or death, and those who murdered whites were 11 times more likely to be sentenced to death than those would be convicted of killing blacks. The predominant race will be more concerned about the crime victims of their own race. So basically, is this justice? I don't think it's justice. The second point is the immorality of capital punishment. Religion is a hot topic in itself, but the fact is the Bible says, "Thou shalt not kill." Us just killing criminals that already committed murder is basically two wrongs not making it right. Dr. Rupert Diebold, the message that capital punishment sends is that vengeance is acceptable. And that's not a good message to send our children or the young generation behind us as well, that two wrongs don't make a right and vengeance is never right. So is morality? I think not as well. The next point is capital punishment as a deterrent in itself. People have strong beliefs on both sides, whether it's right or wrong, whether it works or it doesn't work. Do criminals really count out the consequences of them murdering, stealing, or drug trafficking, whatever it is? Do criminals in the long run actually think about the consequences? In most cases, murderers do not, because most of them are mentally ill or incapable of thinking for their own self. Also, that the National Academy of Science did a study, and the available studies provided is no useful evidence on the deterrent effect of capital punishment, according to the National Academy of Science as well. So basically, there is no studies and statistics to prove that capital punishment actually works from stopping criminals from murdering and doing these other crimes. And like realistically, like I said, criminals don't actually like accept or think about being caught, convicted, or executed. So is this a good deterrent in the long run? I think not as well.
Okay, so it's more financially and ethically responsible to eliminate capital punishment. Capital punishment goes against most religious beliefs and against human compassion. It's important to acknowledge the lack of effectiveness of this punishment because it does not deter others of committing the same crime. So we argue that those that are not opposed to it reevaluate the cost of capital punishment like disregard for religious and moral beliefs, and to also acknowledge the lack of benefit because it does not prevent crimes.